Right.
you know.
Truly magical, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just a whole nother level of, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
and there are no coincidences, right? Your Uncle Sal was there for a
Oh my
reason and you got to
God.
experience that. How many years was he in your life? The whole
Oh my
time or
God. Well, I mean, he was 17 when I was born,
right?
and he just passed away at 91.
Wow. So you got
Yeah,
to enjoy
and
that relationship all those years.
and his memory was sharp as a tack. I
Wow.
could sit him down and ask him things of certain people or um, things that I remember that were like a dream, and he'd clarify it.
Oh yeah.
He'd
Nice.
clarify it. He had certain people that I remember. My grandfather's sister,
Yep.
and then her children, and where they lived, and oh yeah, he said I was right on target. He knew
Wow.
he would clarify it because I had it like a piece of it.
Yeah.
See, my grandfather's house, the house I was born in,
Mm-hmm.
I went to visit it for the first time after I was in this country, I don't know, 40 years.
Yeah.
And I went and knocked on the lady's door. I told her who I was. And I told her that I was Enrico Ciancio's granddaughter. And she's like, oh my God, come on in, come on in. So I looked at the house. It was so different. Inside, they had a legit kitchen
Mm-hmm.
where when I was little, I remember a fireplace where they all cooked at the fireplace.
Yep.
And my grandmother's bedroom. They didn't have a living room.
Right.
It was just like the common place to be in was the kitchen. And then everybody went to bed.
Right.
They didn't have a dining room but I walked in and I saw the bedroom now had the staircase going to upstairs, which was my grandfather's house. And I said to her, there's something funny with this room. So she said, what do you mean? And I said, when I was little, I remember the stairs being over there. They're now over here. Oh, yes, we changed that because we made an upstairs level. So
Wow.
I was 5 and I remembered that.
That's amazing where the stairs were. Phew.
Yeah, because we used to have just a terrace upstairs and a small bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
but then they made the terrace into another bedroom.
Okay.
So they had to change the staircase. And how do you go into 2 rooms? But I remember that house as if it were yesterday. And I said to the lady, she said to me, you know, the day your grandmother died, Arcangela, which is my mother's mother.
Okay.
Her name was Arcangela.
Arcangela is her name. Arcangela. Okay.
So they called her Angela, but in Italian it's Arcangela. So when someone dies and they're in this country and they notify the church of that village, they ring the bell. And people like, why is the church, I mean, like on a Wednesday or whatever,
Sure.
an unknown day. And everybody would go to the church and what happened? And that day it was announced that my grandmother, which was here, had passed away.
Wow.
And the lady proceeds to tell me, you know, when your grandmother died, her soul was here. I said, what do you mean? She said, when we came back from the notification of the church that she had died, she said the rafters were making some noise. I said, are you kidding? She said, no, we know Arcangela came back to tell us.
Wow.
I mean, I couldn't believe that. And I was 30 some odd years old at that point.
Wow.
So she couldn't tell me a fib.
You're right.
But she said, your grandmother's let us know that she had passed away.
The sheer number of people, I think, is part of the problem for our current society, because that piece right there, which is there's still a sense of community. It doesn't matter how many years. It doesn't matter. You know, you get word to, and then they ring and then everybody comes together. You can't get 2 people to come together today, right? It takes, it's an act of God to get 2 people to come
Isn't
together.
that the truth?
And so the sense of community, the sense of, and they say the number's 150. After you get over 150 people, the sense of community goes away, right? So these small villages where there's probably maybe a couple hundred people, so they ring the church bell, everybody comes. That's the priority, right? Go there.
But I guess
respects.
that was also whether you're related or not.
Yeah.
And you're in a village that who's making bread, who's making the wheat, and who's making the oil, and it was like you needed each other to survive.
You're relying on each other and you care about the people because it's part of your existence. Whereas today, not so much. Here, right? I mean, it's
Right.
the population has grown to the point where you in New York, if something happens to someone in New York, people will pull out their phone to record it, but
Is that the truth?
nobody's running over to go, "You okay? You all right?" Yeah, maybe they do that, but
Yeah, it just,
how do you care for somebody when there's so many people?
there's one more thing I got to tell you about my dad. He was just, he's got to be an angel now. I'm sure they are, but
Yeah.
when my dad had the cantina and the store
Mm-hmm.
sell the bread and the tobacco,
Okay.
they had to have licenses. And he was given that license because he was the only child left to maintain the home while the other brothers were at war.
Right.
So the licenses were given to him, and people would come, and sometimes they couldn't afford to get bread that day. So my father would have a little book, a little promissory book, and, it was pretty thick, but he never went after people and said, hey, you owe me money, whether it was a glass of wine or whether it was 2 eggs, whatever it was. But when he left Italy, my uncle, his brother that was left there, asked my father for the book so he can collect. So my father said, no. He said, no, this book, I'm going to tell everybody. He ripped the book up. He said it's done, everybody's paid.
Yep.
And my uncle got a little angry because you know how much money's in there?
Right. You're
My father
throwing
says,
away.
yeah, it's my money. And he said, these people were my lifeline and I was theirs.
Right.
So this is why he's well loved and respected. And his name goes forward today to forever
Right.
because the ancestors that were struggling then, and he made them struggle less by saying, you got a little bit. You don't have a lot, but you got... And that's how everybody survived. But
That's
just,
right.
Doing that.
It takes a village.
So my dad was upset with his brother for asking that.
Right.
But then my father gave the licenses to continue the stores
Mm-hmm.
to my uncle. And he gave them to his wife,
Okay.
which wasn't a good thing. But my dad made a deal with his wife when he left and said, you can have everything as long as you take care of my mother.
Oh.
And that was the daughter-in-law to my grandmother. And my father, I said, why'd you do that, Pop? Because as long as she was taking care of my mom, she could have everything.
Right.
And she did.
She did do it. She took care of his mother.
To
Because
the
he
day-
probably never saw her again either, right?
Right.
Did he go back or?
Oh, my dad went back.
Okay.
Yeah, he did. But see, his mother died while he was here, had not gone back.
Ah.
And that happened in 1955, I believe. But
Right.
at that time, it was hard to get an airline ticket
Right.
to go to Italy. And
Right.
they only hold the body for less than 10 hours, so he would have never seen her anyway.
Right. Right.
So
Again, huge sacrifice. Right. I mean, he would have not have. He literally gave away every worldly possession to ensure that she was
everything
being taken
that
care
his mom
of.
was going to be taken care of.
Right.
And she was good. My aunt, Edminia, she did take care of her
Okay. Nice.
for food and cleanliness and housing, and she didn't suffer at all, ever.
Nice.
But that was the deal.
Yep.
How
many people can still tell the stories of your father? Right. There aren't too
God.
many, right? Or are there people in the
Well-
village that would know the name?
Well, my brother Rico, who lives here in St. Cloud, he went back he goes often, very often.
Ah.
But about 10 years ago, he went with my cousins, and there was a carnival going on. What was a saint carnival? I don't know, remember the name of the saint.
Uh-huh.
But they were buying some food at the carnival, and my brother Rico went to buy something at one of the vendors, and my brother Rico told him his name. He goes, oh, by the way, he goes, I'm from Falconata, and I'm Enrico Genovese. He goes, Genovese, is that your father's Giovanni? He says, yes. Well, the guy got his cap and threw it on the floor. He's like, he wanted to kneel in front of my brother. Because your father was my saint. He gave me my life. What do you mean? What do you mean? He said, when I needed anything or everything, your father always gave it to me.
Wow.
He helped me live. He said, I'll never forget the Genovese name.
And this is about 10 years ago. Wow.
That he reminded my brother how special this man was, that my dad was to him.
Do you speak Italian?
I do. It's a dialect.
And your brothers?
He speaks it too.
So when he goes to Italy, he can speak Italian?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the guy was telling him in Italian.
Yeah, we speak the dialect, which is our home.
Right.
But my cousins in Rome, they're higher, perfect Italian.
Right.
But it's interesting. I went to see my cousin in Rome the first time I was there, and he had a Alfa Romeo, a BMW, and a Mercedes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So he said to me, you want to go for a ride? And I said, yeah, okay. So he says to me, which car? And I says, I don't know. I said, that one. He goes, BMW. He goes, BM Boo. I go, no, BMW. He goes, no, BM Boo. I said, what's the boo? Well, we don't have a W in Italian, so we have to say boo. So I said, oh, all right, we'll take that. But anyway, we went for the ride, and he's zipping. And we went along this little cliff. And I said, hey, I was born in this country, but I don't want to die here. Slow down. So he's just a great guy, and they live very well. They have they went in the construction business in Rome.
Okay.
And they had 5 brothers.
Oh, wow.
And they were all in the business. And they lived in a beautiful, beautiful section of Rome where they all had their own homes, but it was in a private, how do you say, a conclave.
Okay.
So they was all fenced in.
Yep.
But everybody had their own homes. And they did well. Now, come to think of them, when they were in Falconata, when they lived in a little shack.
Right.
That my dad helped them,
This is, how are they related to you?
My father's
Cousins?
brother's children.
Father's brothers, gotcha.
So they're my first cousins.
And your father had how many brothers?
3.
3 brothers. And they had gone to war while your brother was building the village.
Correct. My
town.
father was building the village. He lost 2 sisters during the Spanish influenza.
Oh, wow.
So he remembers his sisters. He always talked about them. And he would cry when he spoke about them.
Yeah.
So there was 4 boys and 2 girls. My little grandmother, Chiara, had 6 kids.
How about on your mother's side?
My mother's side has, she's got 2 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay.
And it's ironic that my mom had 2 boys and 2 girls.
Right.
So, everybody did their sacrifices and made it better, or tried to make it better. And I don't think we came out that bad,
So as you look back on your life, you're thankful for what you have and your family.
Well, sometimes I kind of wish there was a way that I could get to know my father's side more or better, because I know my mom's side.
Right.
But yet it's mixed. It's such it's a torn feeling. That you're related to these beautiful people when they come here more often than we go there.
Right.
But I sometimes wish it was different, but not really. I mean, I cherish being American and having all the luxuries I could possibly have and all the wants. But I think with missing what? I don't know. I mean, it's 2 different worlds.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you see a relative or you talk to your cousins, you're like, well, we're related, but you really don't know them the way you should. But that's 2 families in 2 different parts of the world.
Right. And maintaining connection with a lot of people is a lot of work these days, right?
Mm-hmm. So with my kids, it's like they don't know pretty much how it feels to be torn apart, not torn apart, but separated.
Right.
to keep it, the tradition and belief and love, and to blend it, but it's always one-sided.
Right.
You know your mother's side more
Right.
because you've seen it every day.
Yes.
But my father's side, you speak occasionally, you hear of them, you see them for a week or two, but you really don't feel that connection. I love them and I know I'm related, but it's totally, I don't think it was fair to me, but that's because I think I wanted both.
Right. I think every child yearns for a connection with both parents and the roots of both parents
Yeah.
and just kind of having the pride of being from both parents, all
Right.
that kind of stuff. And then
Right.
enter the whole divorced parent situation. You got that whole thing, but just like what you talked about earlier that stood out to me was, I forget where it was now, the apartment or the house where there was 2 or 3 generations in there, right? It was the grandparent. It was
Yeah. Yeah. My
then this and
mother's
that.
family, when we first came from Italy, we had nowhere to go.
Right.
So my grandmother, my grandfather, and my Uncle Sal and my Aunt Elvira, that's 4 people in a 2-bedroom house.
Yeah.
And their son, who was married and had 2 children, was upstairs. And that was a 2-bedroom apartment.
Right.
And now you're bringing in 5 more people. So I remember when we used to bring out the folding beds at night.
Right. Just for people to be able to sleep.
Yeah, and they did it. And there was never a lack of food. Cleanliness was always there.
Right.
We made our own sausages and tomato sauce and pasta and bread. And it was the way to live. I mean, you didn't go to a supermarket and buy a loaf of bread.
And everybody was probably contributing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, current day, it's like pulling teeth to get a child to do something, right? Where's the work ethic? Where's the, I'm constantly the guy going, take some initiative.
It was expected of me I had to polish the kitchen table every other weekend or the woodwork, and my mom would iron. And when my sister was born, I remember helping her wash the diapers,
Right.
and we couldn't put them out in the wintertime because they would freeze. So we had a basement, and she would put all the clothes in the basement. And it was the only way to do it. There
Yep.
was no other way.
Right.
So
It's a beautiful story. The whole coming to America piece is amazing. And the sacrifice I think everybody made a sacrifice. It sounds like, to include your father's mother who didn't want you to leave, and your father who probably didn't want to leave, your mother who probably didn't want to leave.
I said to my dad, "Did you ever want to not leave?" He goes, "No, it was. But you had so much, you had to give it up." Because I know, I did it all for you. I said, "But leaving your mother," he goes, "Yeah, that was the worst part."
Right.
Leaving his mother, but he never regretted coming here. He never said that.
Okay.
Which is amazing.
Right.
But I don't know who could do that today.
He got to see you as his children have a better life. And so it was worth it. Sounds like.
I think it's like, is it because it was right after the war? That might have been a thought process there.
Right.
To
Yeah,
say
because the 50s was, right.
Because America wasn't at war.
Right. Yeah.
It was the place to be at.
Right. And the land of opportunity, which, he may have gone from, kind of the leader of the village to just a guy working, but he probably was glad that he could work, right? He had the work ethic to just get in there and do it.
Yeah.
It's
really something. So now with my Uncle Sal being gone, I can't ask him certain questions of, but my aunt, his sister, my mom's sister, she was young. She was only 14. And she doesn't really remember, when she came here, she was 14.
Okay.
So I don't think she remembers a lot. But the other day I was testing her. I called her and we were talking about certain things. And and she told me about the day my dad and mom were getting married.
Oh.
And my father's best man was an attorney. His attorney, whenever he did his ventures and his risks, and the day he was supposed to get married, the lawyer was being made a judge in Rome,
Okay.
so he couldn't come. So I said to my aunt, but he's my godfather, but he wasn't at the wedding. No, because he had to go to Rome to become a judge. So my mother's cousin became the best man that day.
Ah,
So she filled me in on that. I'm like, wow. See, I never knew that.
yeah.
So I had a godfather that was a judge,
Isn't that something?
but he still baptized me.
Okay.
Because, see, that's the thing. Whoever's the best man
Uh-huh.
becomes the godfather of the child that's about to be born, whenever it's born.
Right.
And whoever the mother picks, the maid of honor, becomes automatic godmother.
Right.
So that's a standard practice in the Catholic
Yep.
religion or
Yep.
church.
The church, yeah.
So it's amazing how, as you can see, the foundation is built on faith first,
Yes.
and then that becomes the traditions and the family life. But I think that's lost today
It seems like it.
because faith is not even in the picture.
It's very rare to see it these days, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There are examples of not faith, right? There are examples everywhere you look. It's like if we were simply loving each other as if we're supposed to, then a lot of the stuff, it's just noise. It goes away.
Yeah.
You know.
I think it's competition too.
Yep. Could be
Has it?
competition, right? I mean, there's this conflict. You know, our
I want
nature
more
now.
than what you got, or I want what you have, and
They say comparison is the worst form of self-torture, right? So when people are doing that, instead of just genuinely be happy, I mean, you can't share when things are going well, you can't share it because people that are genuinely happy for you are rare these days because most people are, well, why do you get it and I don't, and what, why are you so lucky? You used it earlier.
Right,
You're
right.
you're just lucky. You're just lucky.
they don't realize that. I think you do
Yeah.
make your own luck to a degree
Sure.
because it's the risk you take.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I love using the analogy of, somebody who hits it big in music or acting or something like that. And I forget who said this quote, but it's a great quote, which is, people will talk to me about becoming an overnight success. And and the quote was, it only took me 20 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
Right. And nobody sees the countless hours of practice, dive bars, everybody who's achieved some level of success has that story, like not unlike your father who was working 3 jobs. There aren't
And
many
I'm
people.
sure if he would have had to, he would have had a fourth.
Right.
So he ended up working for a large estate in Purchase, New York. When things got settled and we got older, he worked for a family that were very well off in Purchase, New York, which is next to Rye. And they owned a nylon silk factory where they used to make a lot of the women's stockings. At the time,
Okay.
nobody had pantyhose at that time. But
Right.
this person had about 28 acres, horses, which my father loves, horses. And he was very good at gardening and
Right.
took care of property. So he worked for the Berzons for 20 some odd years.
Oh, wow.
And he also had worked at Arnold Bakery. He retired from Arnold and then went full-time to the Berzons because he was working for the Berzons on weekends.
Is that like commercial bakery or small? Okay.
Yep. Arnold Bakery is, I'm sure you get Arnold bread.
Yeah, I know Arnold. The Arnold
Yes, so
name,
Arnold Bakery started in Port Chester, New York.
Ah, okay.
And my grandfather worked for them too for a while. And then they moved to Greenwich and they grew big.
Right.
Big. Arnold Bakery was very big. So a lot of people worked for Arnold Bakery. So he pulled a pension from there
Yep.
after, I think, 15 years. And then he went to Berzons. He retired from Berzons, but he worked very hard.
Right.
So at Berzons, they had 3 main houses, 3 houses, which Mr. and Mrs. Berzon had 2 children. Yeah, 2 children. And they each had their own home on the property. And here I was at 12 years old, and my dad had made me work there in the summertime. Now, they were Jewish, and I'm Italian Catholic. So I was introduced to a lot of foods that they had that I never heard of or saw, like tongue.
Right.
And I thought, who in hell would eat a tongue? So, but then the cooks were there and they go, try it. And potato pancakes. And like, wow, we don't see this in Italian families, right?
Right.
And gefilte fish. And so I was introduced to another
Culture.
and it was shocking, but yet it's like, wow, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong with this. So, but I was made to help the maids clean bathrooms and dust and sweep at 12 years old. And for the summer, I worked 5 days a week, and my dad worked there too. And I worked Saturdays, though, 6 days a week, and I would get $20.
Yeah.
At 12, that's a lot of money.
That's big bucks.
But I remember every day, whether they used that bathroom or not, I had to clean it.
Right.
But they were wonderful people. And that was my first introduction to Jewish people.
Yep.
And I thought that all the Jewish people lived like that.
Right.
And that's not the case.
No.
But again, giving me this little Italian girl introduction to a new culture, that was a gift.
Right. Oh, the melting pot, right? But New
God.
York being such a melting pot of.
And I met, I don't know if you remember Dr. Tarnower.
I don't know the.
He was killed by his girlfriend. And they were in Rye, Purchase, New York. He did one of the diets, the very famous Tarnower. It was a cardiologist, but he had invented a diet. And I met him at the Berzon's house.
Oh.
But not the girlfriend, just him. But unfortunately, he was killed by the girlfriend.
Oh my gosh, his girlfriend.
If you look him up, Dr. Tarnower.
Right.
I forgot.
Pull that
I
a
think
little
it
bit
was
closer to you.
The Tarnower diet.
Yep.
I remember it was, and meeting Roberta Peters, the opera star,
Okay.
opera
Roberta
singer. I
Pierce.
met her there.
Wow.
I mean, to me, it's like, wow,
The who's who is showing up there.
they were well off. They were well off people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, and here my dad, I mean, look, he made it happen, and he survived and worked hard. So don't tell me you can't make it.
Right.
There's no reason why you can't,
That's right.
you know. So anyway, I was blessed.
Are you feeling good? You want to keep going? You want to take a break?
No, whatever. You know, this has been.
You want a restroom break? You want to, because
I'm
we've
good.
only just scratched the
No, I'm
surface.
good. I'm really good. I'm looking forward to more and more and more of it because
All right.
it's refreshing to me.
Beautiful stories today. Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I thought it would be. Hit the button there on 3. Yep.
All right, how long you think it's been?
I don't know how long.
Take a guess.
Oh,
Like you might
an
guess
hour and a
me.
half, 2 hours.
Oh, wow, you're right on. 132.
Yeah, I was gonna guess an hour and a half.
The one part I wanted to hear about that kind of left out was when you first, from the train station, I guess when you got here, this is your mother.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
you got to remember that one, Mike?
Oh yeah.
All right,
I don't know if I heard
you,
that one.
Wait, if you want the break or not, but I know there's so many ways of,
Oh yeah.
I mean, jumping back and forth because all these memories. I'm just watching your face back from back here, and it's she's triggering, you
Yeah,
know,
see,
going
that's what
back
I'm
and
saying.
forth.
I-
But
it's
yeah,
like
that one part about
puzzles.
mom.
You know, when you veer off a little and then you have to bring it back
This-
because there's more to it.
This is a very difficult thing to do because we don't think chronologically. We don't think, okay, I was born, it was dark, then it was light, and then nobody thinks that way. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and to think my father did that, and Pop was gone.
You can turn your mic back on.
Pop, I am. This was bothering me. These.
Keep them off. Just get a little bit closer. So sit
Closer.
back, but do this.
Hold the mic.
Okay.
Do this. Do this. There you go.
And it's
Closer.
too bad that Pop.
The mic.
The Pop is gone.
There you go.
Right there. Perfect.
Pop is gone. That I can't say to him, Pop, what were you thinking that day?
Right.
He probably would say, oh, I'll fix you all. Yeah, you don't want my mother's name? She's going to have my mother's name. But I mean, when my cousin Conchetta sent that to me, and I said, are you sure you got the right paper? She's like, yeah. I said, I can't have it. She goes, well, ask your mother. So I asked my mother, and at that day that I asked my mother, my Uncle Sal came over for coffee.
Yeah.
Because when I was visiting my mom, my Uncle Sal would come over for coffee. But here's the kicker. We would have coffee in the morning, demi-tasse espresso, and of course I'd have it. Then somebody would come at 11, we'd have it again. And then my Uncle Sal would come at 1 o'clock, we'd have it again. And then after a couple of days in Portchester, I was there, my left eye would start twitching. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm getting a stroke. Like, no, this isn't right. So I came home and I went to my doctor. I was like, I don't know what's wrong, but the eye is twitching all the time. And he said to me, well, what are you doing, eating coffee, chocolate? I said, yeah, I have coffee. He goes, okay, how many cups? I said, well, I don't know, about 3. But I never told him it was espresso. So he's like, and you think you want to know why your eye is twitching? You know how much caffeine that is? I said, yeah, but I had to have it when company came at my mom's or my uncle would come. I think you need to cut it out. I said, oh, okay. But anyway, my Uncle Sal would come and we would rehash all the things that as I was younger and things that we experienced in Italy or what my mom experienced when she was younger. So Frank will tell you that Uncle Sal is a cherished relative because he holds so much of my life. And to have it come out and, in front of my mom to make it real. It didn't just get made up. It's real.
Right.
Tell that part about this is your mother.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's right.
So we get off the boat Christmas Eve, and it's, we had come into port the night before. So that was on the 23rd. The moon was out, and Pop was holding Aldo in his arms. Rico had one pant leg, and I had the other. And everybody's crying on the ship. Crying, libertà, libertà. Well, as a child, you don't know what that word means. Well, we happened to be in front of the Statue of Liberty, but the boat couldn't come in until daytime. So everybody had to stay at the harbor and not come off or deboard, deplane, whatever.
Right.
So
Disembark.
Disembark. That's the word. But then the next morning, I remember people saying, solo l'americano, just the Americans get off first. Just the Americans. So I guess they're hurting all of us. And my dad being the guardian, we were the Americans. So we were getting off, coming down the plank, or whatever you want to call it.
Gangway or...
Yeah, there you go. And we come down and, well, of course, we're holding to my dad. And my brother Aldo had this little white coat and a little white hat. I don't remember what I was wearing. But we're coming with my dad, and there's my mom, but I didn't know it was my mom, and my father. And we're all crying. Everybody's crying, but I didn't know who anybody was. So I remember holding on to my dad and holding on to Rico's hand. And my mom, she reaches out for Aldo and out of my father's arms. And I go, Papa, Papa. And he goes, this is your mother, this is your mother. And I like, oh, but we don't get it. And then my mom is trying to get my little brother, Aldo, to hug him. And Aldo's screaming, pushing her away. And she gives him a whack in the butt. Like, what? This is my mother? So I'm like, no, Papa, no, mama. Questa non è mama. Yes, è mama. So at that point, my uncle is hugging us. My other uncle's hugging us. My grandfather's hugging us. But at this point, she is not my mother in my mind because I didn't even know what the word meant anymore.
Right.
When you think about it.
Right.
But yes, no, this isn't my mother. But she whacks Aldo in the behind to make him stop crying. But the poor kid is afraid. But how do you make a kid stop crying? Anyway, that I'll never forget. And then we get in this big car I remember we didn't have luggage, but we had what do you call it? A trunk.
The trunk.
A trunk.
Big.
And that went in one of the cars.
Okay.
That's all my dad traveled with.
So you had one trunk for all four of you.
Exactly.
Every worldly possession.
And
that
I don't
you-
even know what we brought from
some
there.
clothing, maybe.
You know, I
That's
just
right.
don't remember that part. I never even remembered to ask my dad what was in the trunk or what did you think to bring,
Right.
you know.
Stack of $100 bills.
God, $100 bill would have not been available then. But it's so amazing how I remember all those people at the train station wanting to give my father stuff to bring to America. To bring, but
For
he couldn't-
relatives,
but
or?
but who had a relative here? But there was no way. So my father had to turn that down, you know,
Right.
because everybody wanted to send something to someone living here.
Right.
It was rough times, you know, in '51. I don't think people don't recall how the fear and the unknown. This is what I'm saying when I'm seeing that crying in front of the Statue of Liberty. What do you really know?
Right.
You're saying this is liberty? Yeah, it is Lady Liberty, but you're also saying that you're free. You're free, you know. But I remember that moon that night, and at Christmas time, it was cold on that ship. We were all out there. But I can't tell you how grateful my parents, I am to them, to say to us that you're going to have a better life,
Yes.
you know. But today, my cousins in Italy aren't suffering either. I mean, they're working hard, but they can't stay in the little town.
The opportunities just aren't there. They can't
Mm-hmm.
afford to stay and work in the small town. They've got to go
Right.
outside to make money because money is driving the world today.
I have two cousins that one had to go to Portugal and another, I forgot what other country, in order to make it. And you know, who's an IT specialist and but I have two second cousins that were very clever. They opened up a little store they represent Amazon, Western Union.
Right.
I forgot what else. It's just one of those like you would go to a UPS store
Mm-hmm. Yep.
or a FedEx store.
Right.
And that's what they do. They have all services of mailing,
Yep.
and they're young and they're doing it very well.
Excellent.
So again, once you get out of that little town, you find other routes and ways of surviving.
right.
you know.
Opportunities, creating
They're
opportunities.
doing very, very well. But
Excellent.
again, that little town was only made to get you started.
Right. Well, I will tell you, I mean, because it really is a matter of perspective. We've got some neighbors here that pre-Disney, so 1970, here, Disney, 1970, they were like, and they had done pretty well for themselves in this area, and they were like, this Disney's coming, and this area is going to go to crap. And they went to New Zealand for like 11 years. Now they came back, but so where I go with that is to say it's really about perspective. And your parents, Italy in 1949, 50, completely different place, right? And who knows what's going to happen war-wise, right? There's war possibilities. There's all kinds of things happening that could impact. And the stories that came from, because it was then, right? The United States was
Right.
lived the American dream, the land of
It was
opportunity.
the streets were paved in gold.
Literally.
But the words, I think, when they said it that way, it was like, it's not literally gold in the street,
right.
but you have the opportunity on that street to go
As
and
far
make
as,
your gold,
right.
you know?
Right.
So my dad caught on right away.
Yep.
In order to make it, you got to work it.
Yeah, somebody said to me the other day, I thought it was good. It was like, hey, do you know Elon Musk's grandfather? Do you know his name? Nobody knows his name, but they all know Elon Musk, right? Well, there is no Elon Musk without the grandfather, right? So you may not know his name, but he did something to help create that reality.
Now, from what I recall, his mom was a model. And
Yes.
she's the one that gave him his first $1 million,
That I'm not sure of.
and he created PayPal.
Okay, she funded the PayPal. Gotcha.
Well,
okay.
she told him, you're going to make your own wealth. Here it is.
Okay.
You either lose it or you make it.
All right.
And I read that recently on that. And Yeah, she gave him the million to play with, and if you're going to make it, you make it, but you're not getting any more after this.
Right. Right.
Now, where and how did he think of PayPal?
It's a good question, right? That was a combination. That's one of those, there are no coincidences, and there's a team of people. It wasn't just him, but yeah, this creating something. You've got a grandson that is probably going to do something like that, right? And some, and then they even say it like an Elon Musk. They come around like once every 100 years, where an Einstein or a Musk or he's current day Musk or whatever, current day Einstein. That there are these brilliant people that just really see things differently. One of my favorite Musk stories was he does not have a great relationship with his children. One of his children in particular, who kind of represents the far left, if you will, or whatever. So he's coming into so the PayPal thing is over. Tesla is happening. SpaceX is happening. He's got more money than he knows what to do with. And one of his children says to him, "You're just a greedy billionaire. You've got 5 houses. Look at you with your 5 houses. Blah blah blah, whatever." And the answer to that from Elon Musk was he sold all 5 houses. He's like, now what? What am I now? Right. And so in that, right, just kind of, you can call that a stupid move. You could call that a genius move. You could call that maybe he's a little too sensitive, but I call it, you're judging me based on the fact that I've got 5 houses. I get rid of the 5 houses. How about, can we get along now? Do you love me now? Right. Like you're judging me based on the fact that I've got these 5 houses, and the 5 houses aren't the thing. Kind of like your father with, this, how many people would give up? I won't give up what I have right now.
I can't imagine if my father hadn't made the choice to come here.
Right.
Where and what he would have become.
Right.
Because my cousins still say, your father's a genius.
Yeah.
He's a genius. And my brother Aldo, the younger one, has got the same ethics.
Right.
Of straight and honest to the truth.
Yep.
And, he's got the same character. I mean, he can get mad too. My father could get mad too, but he always was a very calm, thoughtful, and made the right decision.
Nice.
Always.
Nice.
And Aldo still to this day does that. So I guess in families, you do build there's got to be a connection and similarities. And I mean, because one brother is totally very different.
Yeah.
And yet this one is. So how does that get created where you pick up the same character?
Right.
So
there's
yeah.
absolutely a connection. There's no question. Genetics are genetics. You can't escape them. Arnold Schwarzenegger's kid looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger for a reason.
Isn't that something?
Got his genetics, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But going through the public school system too, as a child, I had no luxury of having a translator or an interpreter.
Right.
I mean, I didn't know what these words meant. But in life, there are certain teachers that I have in my brain that really meant something to me.
Right.
And helped you. And some of them could care less. But I was really grateful having some teachers that had Italian heritage, and those are the teachers that came through.
Yes.
To help another Italian, but some of the others didn't.
Right.
So as a child, you pick up on that and know it later, but not at the time.
Right.
Where when you have a certain teacher, I'll never forget her, Miss Ciliberti. She was Italian heritage.
Right.
And Mr. Covino, they kind of gave us a little bit of how do you want to say it? Not a carte blanche, but
preferential treatment, maybe.
Yeah, special treatment. Like we're here, we understand. We'll help you.
Right.
And they never made us feel not inhuman, but as a child, you don't get that. I think they always they showed us that they cared.
Yeah.
So then you're like, okay, they care for me. I got to rely on them more. Some teachers would just pull away and you wouldn't go after them.
Right.
But going through those schools, as we moved from apartment to apartment. And then my dad says, we're going to get us settled in our own house. And he did. He was
Yes.
determined. And people would say to him, how can you afford a house like this? I said, I work hard.
Right.
So, and my mom making nickels into quarters into dollars, that was the other, she was a genius.
Yep.
I mean, how do you, and she always put money away and sometimes surprised my dad. And he's like, how did you do that? She says, well, I did it.
Yeah.
So she always had, at that time, they would put money away for Christmas. And in that time, they had a Christmas club at the banks.
Right.
I mean, she would go put in either $1 and at Christmas time, she would have like $500 or $600 to. My father goes, how did you do that? She's like, wasn't easy, but so, she literally counted her pennies and
Yep.
made it happen.
Beautiful.
I mean, we didn't have 10 pairs of shoes, but we had good shoes.
You had shoes. Yeah.
And we always had the best, too.
Always had the best shoes.
Mm-hmm. My mom always went, we got Buster Brown shoes.
The
They were
hot.
the best at the
that was
time.
the hot. Yes. Yep.
And it's like we didn't know different, but it was
Right.
time for shoes because you had a hole in your shoe. You had to go get new shoes, Then we had Easter shoes.
Yep.
So, yeah, they were the best parents that anybody could ever have.
That's
It's
wonderful.
unfortunate when you're younger, you appreciate them, but not to the degree of when you're older and say, how lucky was I that God picked those two people to be my parents.
Right. And your perspective changes over time, like you said, right? When you're young, you're not thinking about it at all. You're just like, yeah,
No.
this is my reality. Even if somebody else is pointing it out, you're like, yeah, whatever. It's not till you really get older that you're like, And seeing the generation after you and then the generation after that and how
And
things
you try
are,
to pass that on to your own, but sometimes they get it and sometimes they don't,
right.
But I guess that's part of life. You got to fit into what world you create.
One of the guys that I record with, he's a psychotherapist, and he said we were talking about reading because I'm encouraging my kids to want to read for leisure, right? So as opposed to being captivated by a screen, which is so hard to, it's like trying to say, hey, you and I go for a walk in the park when we're inside of a casino. And you got to be a gambler to really be, attracted to that. But it's like, like if you're a gambler and you're in a casino, you're like, what? I'm not going for a walk in the park. Kids today, the screen is just too captivating.
After I learned English and we were at school where you had this children book.
Right.
But then when I turned, I think 11, and I realized what a book really does, it transforms you into that world.
Yes.
And I'll never forget my first book, Boxcar Children.
Boxcar Children. I don't know that one.
They're I don't know
look it
whether
up.
they're orphans, but they had no parents, and I think they were 3 children, and they decided to stay together. I don't remember it all, but they built a home in a boxcar. Not built a home, but that's where they stayed.
Right.
And it was a big brother and 2 little girls, a sister and a little sister. And I got to find that book because that made me realize at that age how it transforms you and makes you into that, whether you can find it as relief from where you are,
Right.
but you kind of put your brain into that story.
Big time. Your imagination.
How would I ever find that book that I read in 1954?
Easy.
How?
We'll show you when we get done.
Okay.
Easy. We'll get you that book.
Boxcar Children. That was my first book.
Fantastic.
And that's when I felt, I can read. And because being, I really learned the language in 8 months to get along,
Right.
but not to read a book and get to the picture of the meaning of that book.
Immersed in the book. You get immersed in the book.
And today, I'm having a hard time releasing books because I was a collector of books.
Okay.
But where I live, we have a library.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want any books that are older than 1996 now, which I don't blame them because when these older people die, they end up getting a closet full of books and bringing them to your library in your community.
Right.
Well, we don't need those old books. But yet, some people today will not read an electronic book
Right.
because you're like turning the pages or
Your
whatever it
habit.
is.
Yeah, sure.
You know? So there are some books that I still don't want to let go.
Yep.
But in this little phone, I must have like 300 books
Nice.
that I read and my favorite authors. And I still want the book, but the luxury of having it not on a shelf and collecting dust, where I had 60 books when I first moved, and I thought, where am I putting these? When you're downsizing, where do you put 60 books?
Digital is the way to go. I read them all on my iPad, and like you said, you can have 300 books depending on what you want to read today. They're all right there. You don't have to go shuffling through. And
But there are some books that I have that the authors have died, and I loved them because when I traveled on the train from Clinton, Connecticut to Greenwich, Connecticut,
right.
I would have my book.
Yep.
You know, whether you sleep or read, that's up to you. But loving having the words made a difference in the words electronically. I don't understand that part, but
So one of the things, there's lots of, things that are contributing, but one of the things that Chuck said, the psychotherapist, is he said, the people that read today read for 20 seconds. Think about that, right? And most of us included, right? When you get a news story, you read about 20 seconds of it and you're on to the next thing because there's a gazillion other things to read in any given day. And you only got about 10, 20 seconds to dedicate towards that.
But at night, I want an hour, and I read until 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, which is sometimes when I get a text from my son. Are you still awake? I go, yes. And then it's like, that's my time. Anytime after 12 o'clock, my husband's snoring, the dog's asleep. And I'm like, oh, I can read an hour's worth. But then my eyes go, no, you don't. No, you. But that's when I feel like I re-educate myself and see and feel and think. And you see new words. Like, oh, what does that mean? But
That's right.
reading is that time. I think I'm feeding my brain.
You're training your brain, right? And so the brain I treat the brain like a muscle, right? This is what I tell my kids, right? It's like they, bellyache about having to learn this or having to learn that. I'm like, you need to have a thirst for learning. If you have a thirst for learning, you're
Right.
golden,
You're
right? And then I'm harping on them, and my daughter's like, yeah, Dad, but we don't have a thirst for learning. I'm like,
Wow.
that's true, but get one, because if you have that, you're good forever. Right? Just that thirst for learning. And so the brain I treat it like a muscle, which is the more you exercise that thing, the better off you are. Like the fact that you're reading, and that's keeping your mind sharp, that's keeping that brain strong. Renee's grandmother at 91, same thing. She's reading every day. She's crossword puzzles. She's, translating jokes into an email and, right at 91, because that keeps her brain sharp and her mind sharp and her ability to retain things. And it's all connected.
Yeah.
So if you sit in front of what did they call it? Remember back in the day, the idiot box? You remember?
Yeah.
Remember it was called the idiot box?
And it still is the idiot box. I mean, seriously, the only thing I really enjoy now on TV truly is Jeopardy.
Oh, yeah. It's
For
a good
some
one.
reason, it tests my brain, and sometimes I come up with all the answers.
Nice.
But if you don't read and know, how are you going to know to answer a question?
That's right.
That's
right.
It's some things really, like my husband. He's an American, graduated high school. There's certain words he says to me. How do you spell? Well, yeah, like, are you kidding? So here I am thinking, I know because I read it and it's in there.
Right.
But whether it's a guy thing, I don't know. But I think girls spell better than men. I don't get that.
Maybe. Well, there's definitely a connection between genetics is part of it. Practice is another, right? So I can't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger no matter how hard I try, right?
Nope.
I mean, there's nothing I can do. Even
Nope.
cheating, I won't ever be 6'5" or whatever he is, 6'2", right? It's not going to happen. So the same kind of thing happens with brain power. I think you either have it or you don't, and then you either work on it or you don't. Everybody talks about the great sports stars like a Michael Jordan. Oh, he was just naturally gifted. Nah, but he was also the first one at practice and the last one to leave. Everybody leaves that out.
Right, they forget.
He's just gifted. Nope. He showed up first. He left last. And that combined
he had a
with
mission,
the gift.
and he had to get there.
Yeah. So I think the same thing is true of, whether it be spelling a word or, the ability to speak eloquently, or it's all a lot of it's practice. The more you do it, that's what this is, right? The more we do this, the better we get at it. That's why when you listen to this back, I'm guessing you'll end up with, let's do it again because I got another couple hours worth of stuff that came to mind after hearing that part. Or maybe you follow. What's exciting to me is you're talking to other people about it, getting their perspective. You bring that back. We do this, and you can kind of build this whole thing out to where, as you were talking, I'm like, okay, I can see that. All right, we're going to get a map. Where is that in Italy? I didn't ask you that because I knew I would do it after. You know what I mean? So regardless of where it is, we'll be able to figure that out. Here's Falco. How do you say it?
What? San Vincenzo?
Falconata.
Falconata.
Here's Falconata. It's right here, so people can reference that to Rome and blah blah.
Right.
As a follow-up to I'm on the phone yesterday telling a buddy of mine, I'm like, man, I'm really excited about tomorrow. I'm going to hit record. We're going to talk about these stories with Italy, blah, blah, blah. He says, I'm going to Italy in like 4 weeks.
Aww.
I said, oh, great. When you're there, I'll give you the name of the town. Swing by.
See, Falconata is in the lower part, like a little lower than the ankle and the foot part of the boot.
Yep.
And it's amazing how it's got the best beaches. So all my cousins from the north, when they do the Ferragosto, which is the August vacation, everybody goes on vacation, no matter what doesn't matter. You have to go on vacation.
Nice.
In August. That's mandatory.
The whole month?
Yep. No, 3 weeks.
3 weeks out of the month.
And things shut down.
Yep.
Pharmacies must be open for a certain hour on the weekends only. But if something's needed during the week, oh, well, your problem. I mean, even the hospitals downsize during the Ferragosto because they feel that that's your break time to, what do they call it?
Decompress?
Decompress. Everybody has to do it. So the best places are down there. And I mean, my cousins from the north, when they go down, they usually rent a house. So they have a little house down there. And you need it. And this country here, people are always working. You have to have a second job or you have to, but in Italy, it's like, oh, no, we need our time.
Right.
They eat their heavy meal at lunchtime. They have something light at night. And years ago, they don't have as much cancer illnesses. Now they're surfacing.
Right.
I don't know from where.
Right.
But some of the illnesses are surfacing more than this country.
Yes.
Here, I mean, almost everybody's affected.
Right.
Is it the food, the air? What is it?
Combination of everything. I think everything has gotten worse. I mean, if you get on the food tangent, I've been listening lately to some of the podcasts that talk about the food that we eat here. And so compare the food that we eat here to the food that you eat back in Italy. It's grown, harvest, right?
No pesticides.
Everything is right here, and we know exactly what's in it because we made it, we grew it. And then here, we don't grow any of our own food, typically. Right. Almost everything comes from China. And so the chemicals, for example, the chemicals that we've outlawed here that you can no longer spray on our food is happening in China. And so when that food comes here, it's got it in it.
We're getting it.
We're getting a dose, right? So I think it's over 90% of people have traces of the weed killer stuff, whatever it is, whatever it is. So there's some chemical that we all have floating. In our brains, we each have the equivalent to a plastic spoon worth of plastic inside of our brain, all of us, from the exposure to and et cetera, et cetera. So that little village is looking pretty sweet, right? Because now if I can protect myself from that, and as you were talking, I had spent some time years ago in another life as doing the technology stuff. I traveled to Europe and was immediately blown away at not only that period of time where they shut down, but just the regular hours. It's 2-hour lunches.
Right.
It's nobody's looking at the clock to go back to work.
Right.
We'll get back there when we get back there. You know what I mean? It's a completely different. How many people here are the high-powered CEO that hates their job, right? Can't stand it. They have no sense of purpose there. And you take that 3 weeks, and like I was talking to you off air, the Viktor Frankl guy who wrote one of his first books was called Man's Search for Meaning. And in that book, he talks about there are 3 ways that people can find meaning. One is in what you do. Doesn't mean you will find meaning there, but you can, right? So if you're doing something and you really, really feel called to do it, and you're getting your sense of meaning from what you do. The other is connections, which is loving. And so the story you told today about your father being loved today, 10 years ago, somebody taking off their hat, throwing it on the ground, I throw myself at the mercy of, because, oh my gosh, it's something right out of The Godfather, right? I mean,
It's true.
so when people look at The Godfather, that telling of that story is so strong, and it's so much about family. Yes, there's this other side of it, which is, the gangster and the crime. But there's this sense of family, and there was this sense of very much so I keep a book and you owe me, but hey, I'll see you when I see you, kind of a thing,
Could
right?
you imagine though, with the heart he had to tear up that book with I don't know how many. My uncle wanted it because he wanted the money, but my dad's trust and faith in people showed it all by just saying no. Your friendship was good enough for me.
I call that a great karma story.
Oh my God.
That's a karma story, right? So the fortune that he ended up, getting, the fortunate situation that he found, because he could have died on the ship. You could have jumped overboard. There's a million things that could have happened.
9 days on a ship.
Yeah.
Today,
You could have got scurvy or whatever the, modern day version of tuberculosis. So something could have just wiped you out.
That we were healthy enough to make it here.
Right.
The
Titanic, right? I mean, think of the Titanic. If that boat
even
would have...
today, when I get on a cruise ship, I can't do more than 3 days because the fear, you're stuck.
Right.
Where do you go? That Titanic was a beautiful movie, but not for my brain. It's like it put another fear that you think you didn't have. But today, these people go on a cruise every single month.
Yep.
But...
Number 3 is suffering. You can find meaning in life through suffering, right? And not the kind of suffering that you can avoid, but the kind that you can't avoid, right? So you're suffering through the loss of Uncle Sal, right? You're suffering there.
Oh my God, I miss him so much because he was like my dad. I just said to my son when he was there, I said to him, when Uncle Sal says, I'm tired. I don't think I'm going to make it. I says, yes, you have to hold on. I want to see you again. He's like, no, I don't think I'm going to make it. I said, remember, you were my first boyfriend. So he says, yeah, I was, but I think I have to go.